Hello and welcome back to day 8 of building my app in public. So today I was working on a user experience improvement plus styling for linked tasks. So basically what you can do is you can create a task that is linked to the task I'm working on, for example, a follow-up task. And before, those links were basically just sprinkled into the linked entries list here. It's kind of like a timeline for a task. And now what I created here is this linked task section. Here's just one follow-up task. I will talk about that in a second. And here, for a task where there's like more links, then you see the status here of the linked task, and of course you can navigate to those tasks. This is something that I'm gonna get to sometime soon. And yeah, so that's the one thing I've been working on. And then I realized today that the scrolling has become much smoother, much faster. So yesterday, I believe it was that I was talking about some issue that I found with Riverpod after my upgrade, and as part of that task, I had also worked on general improvements in scrolling behavior. And scrolling behavior is always like the most problematic thing in an app. When you scroll through something and there's any kind of a yank in there, any kind of jerky motion, it just feels broken very quickly. And there was always a little bit of re-rendering going on, I assume or prior to the latest change that I did, because it was never all that smooth, the scroll behavior. And now let me show you, like, even for, it's not even that long here, even on an old phone I tested this, and there is hardly any yank in there anymore. Same for like this list of tasks. This is actually doing a non-trivial amount of work. Each of these cards will look up like how much time was spent on the task, for example. And now this scrolls really smoothly, like all the way to the bottom. I've probably worked on over 1,000 tasks here on Lottie. So this is a really nice improvement, something that I always felt a little bit broken. And now if you wonder what I did, so oftentimes you will see the advice, I've seen that many times in the Flutter context. I mean, this is a Flutter app, but it's similar in other tech stacks. How do you build a list? Do you render the entire thing? Or do you take a lazy approach? And oftentimes you see like you must take the lazy approach, where in an infinite scroll kind of a list, this here is an infinite scroll. It's just finite because it's running out of entries at some point. But we don't have pagination anymore. We don't want pagination like 10 years ago. You would see like page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever. And if instead we build a list like this, we cannot render the entire thing in memory. I mean, we don't want to go unbounded and then all of a sudden accidentally render like 5,000 elements. But the advice for that reason, only lazily build what is visible is almost equally as bad, I feel. You will not get an out of memory error because of that. But if the next thing that if you scroll is already not previously built and needs to be built when scrolling and doing database lookups or whatever, it's going to feel like this. It's going to be really terrible in terms of user experience. So what I did here instead, for multiple occurrences like this infinite scroll, but also the timeline of a task, is to use cacheExtent. With a rather generous value. So I think I went for like 4,000 pixels up and down that I want to keep cached. And that means that if I scroll in both directions, it's going to be smooth because everything that I can scroll into with the next motion will already be there. Sure, that needs more memory, and it's something that you have to weigh against like what kind of a device are you supporting. Do you have that memory? But if you do, don't try to save memory. it's going to lead to a terrible user experience. You must balance that. As with all caching, it needs some sensible judgment, but in this case, that little extra bit of memory, and I looked at the memory use before and after, it hardly makes any difference, but it makes all the difference in terms of a smooth user experience. I'm going to link the pull request, and then you can have a look yourself. Okay, that's all I have for today. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye-bye.